All right, guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of 3.5, and this is going to be composite finance. So this is going to expand on what I covered in step 4 of the money manager's process about making necessary adjustments. But before we begin, disclaimer: the financial information contained in this video is for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing specific financial advice. You should contact a financial advisor to obtain specific financial advice. So just so you guys know, this is going to be part 2 of 3.5 negotiations and composite finance. We're going to be talking about composite finance in this one. So when I talked about composite finance, one of the first things that I brought up was step 4 of the money manager's process: make necessary adjustments. And that's what we're going to be doing here. Two of the things that we're going to be covering is going to be incorporating new items. So if you guys wanted to change something in your budget, let's say that you went from taking the bus where you normally would pay a flat rate to getting a car where you're going to have maintenance, and the finances are going to change for that. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to show you, I'm going to show you how to incorporate that to your new budget, and creating a new budget without having to do an overhaul and do everything all over again. We're actually using composite finance in order to better make adjustments for any changes that'll happen without having to actually change the entire plan. Now, the next one is going to be expansions and contractions. So expansions are increase in money and contractions are decreases in your finances. So let's start with, we're going to start with expansions and contractions. But one thing that I want you guys to take away from in the money manager's process, step 4, is I want you guys to understand that all aspects of your finances are interdependent, meaning that there's a symbiotic relationship. Remember part 1 of this video: win-win. And that's exactly how your finances are going to behave. So remember that there's going to be a balance. In that balance, you as a money manager are performing a balancing act. So you have to allocate funds optimally in order to get you closer to your goals. So there's always going to be drawbacks, but what you have to understand is there's a balance that you're going to have to maintain. So now these are the personal finance core 4 that I brought up before: behavioral economics, money management, risk management, and debt management. And remember what I said before: all aspects of your personal finance are interdependent, or are related, and they're interdependent here. So to give you guys an easy context, behavioral economics deals with your behavior, and money management deals with the actual management of your money. If your behavior is bad with money, then if you guys remember the first video, what I said is personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge from Dave Ramsey. Then if you're not seeing success with money, it's got more to do with your behavior than whatever plan you have set. And that's how the two of those are interrelated. Now, if you guys remember 3.4, I also talked about supplemental income with debt management, and debt management and money management go hand in hand. So if you don't have enough money and you have a credit card, what will end up happening is you may use your credit card for supplemental income, meaning that you don't pay it off at the end of the month. Main reason being because you don't have enough money to pay it off. And all of these aspects are interdependent. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is a accelerator. So we're going to talk about the plan accelerators, and we're going to do the plan accelerators in more depth with the with the next video. In the next video, I'm going to cover these in great detail. So with plan accelerators, what we have are the most common ones, and that is going to be: first, increase income, decrease expenses, increase savings, manage debt in order to do one or two things: increase income, decrease expenses, automate the process, have tax advantages, and you're going to increase your knowledge and experience on the subject. So now one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about are expansion and contractions. So these are gonna tell you what you need to do when your finances change. So this is when you have a contraction, such as a job loss, or an expansion when you guys have a windfall. Let's start with contractions. So money management as it relates to job losses or business loss. So what you'll notice about this one is it's the same one from what you need to do to avoid being on the lose side of a transaction. And when it comes to contractions, having alternative forms of income is definitely beneficial. So if you have a side job, if you have a part-time business, or if you have some form of assets or investments that you can take money from, that can help mitigate some of the issues with the loss. Now, I also have a contingency plan here, and this one's going to have something like an emergency fund. Now, what you guys probably notice is that I haven't talked about an emergency fund in any one of the earlier videos. The main reason is because the finances for an emergency fund, even though the mathematics behind it are simple, it just fit better to be part of the basic risk management series, and it also fit better to be in the intermediate money management. So I definitely recommend you guys check out those two in order to get the information that you're looking for as far as emergency funds. Okay, so we have emergency funds, and we also have prior jobs or side jobs. So a prior job would be a job that you can go back to help mitigate whatever financial trouble that you're having. Now, if you have a side business, part-time business, an emergency fund, and you can go back to a prior job, what you'll notice is the combination of these these two steps, the first and the second, is that it may not completely reverse whatever contraction you had, but by the same token, it'll definitely reduce the negative effects. Now, the next one is a money management plan. So if you guys remember the first video, the money management overview, I talked about a business manager who had rent for $1,500 and expenses, other necessary expenses of another $1,500. The total expenditures for that should account for 60% of his income. So we had his target income being $5,000. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use that kind of methodical, pragmatic, mathematical framework in order to figure out whatever your target income is going to be, whatever your target expense are going to be, and if you do that, once you go into a negotiation, you actually have increased negotiation power. So now let's talk about expansions. And managing expansions are going to be a large subject in money management. So we're going to talk about windfalls, and that's going to be windfalls large to small. All right, so now let's talk about a windfall. Now, one thing about windfalls is when you come into a larger sum of money, there's a couple things that'll happen. At first, it may be a great benefit to have that, but if you squander the money, then what'll end up happening is you'll end up worse off than you were before you even got that money. So when it comes to windfalls, you guys have to understand that they need to be managed more so than whatever regular funds you have coming in the form of income. So what I want to talk to you guys about is how to deal with windfalls. So the very first thing that you have to do with a windfall is you have to identify how large that windfall is. So what I'm gonna show you guys is how to segment windfalls. So let's say you have a small windfall. A small windfall is designated as anything that's no larger than a month's worth of income. Now a moderate windfall is anything that's no larger than a year's worth of income, whatever your annual income is. Now, a large windfall is considered anything that would be multiple years worth of income. Now, notice that income is the metric, and it's important to note that that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so just to illustrate the point, we're going to do a comparison between two different kind of income earners. So on the left side, you're going to see a income earner that's making $240,000 per year, the equivalent of $20,000 per month. And on the right side, we have a wage earner who's making $24,000 per year or $2,000 per month. And we're going to see exactly how the windfalls work. So on the left and the right, you're going to see that both of the windfalls are exactly the same, but their impacts are going to be different because of the amount of income that each one makes. So the first income is $2,400. So for the one on the left, that's going to be considered a small windfall. Now for the next one, we have $24,000. So for $24,000, that is going to be considered a moderate windfall. And the reason why it's going to be considered a moderate windfall is because $24,000 is more than $20,000 per month as the monthly income. Now, the large one is $2.4 million. So $2.4 million is a large windfall because it would take this wage earner 10 years in order to do it. So it's a multiple of years worth of income. So we're going to take the same numbers and we're going to apply it to the one on the right. And what you guys are going to see is the 2,400, which was a small windfall for the one on the left, is actually a moderate windfall for the one on the right. Remembering that $2,000 is the monthly income. Now, $24,000 being that is exactly what their yearly income is, that is going to be considered a moderate windfall. Now, for the $2.5 million, that is going to be considered a large windfall. And for this person, that is a huge windfall because it would take them about 100 years in order to do it. So that's more than your average human's lifetime. So now let's talk about small windfalls now that we have an idea of what a windfall is and what a small windfall is. So with a small windfall, you have to understand that the effects of this are positive or negative, are not that much. It's not going to benefit you a huge deal, but it's also not going to be to your detriment a huge deal. And what you're going to have to remember is if you squander meaning waste, the negative effects are going to be manageable. It's probably not going to take too long to recover. In most cases, you can probably recover within a month. So if you do it properly and you manage it properly, what will end up happening is it'll bring you closer to your goals, and it'll bring you a small bit of enjoyment in the short term. So with managing small windfalls, it there's not too much that you really need to worry about as far as a small windfall is concerned. You just need to know that when it comes to savings and investing, and when it comes to leisurely, you definitely want to spend some of your windfall for both. Now, the next thing that you want to do is you want to tackle your necessary expenses and your debt service or reduce debt. The main reason why you want to do this is is if you need to, meaning if you don't need to do it, it's not going to matter too much. Now, percentages, sorry, just getting over cold, guys, but percentages here, they could matter, but once again, the negative or positive effects are not going to be that great, so it's not going to matter too much. So as far as small windfalls, a common small windfall would be, let's say if you guys get paid bi-weekly and you have a third paycheck at the end of the month. If you guys have a third paycheck by the end of the month, then you guys probably already know what happens with a small windfall. If you guys have ever squandered that third paycheck and you ended up worse for about 2 to 3 weeks until you got paid again, you understand what I mean about a small windfall. Moving on, we're going to talk about moderate windfalls. So when we're talking about moderate windfalls, you're going to have to understand that the effects are amplified. So both positive and negative. If you squander this, it could potentially take you a couple months or a couple years to recover to where you were right before you got that moderate windfall. So if you manage it properly, it'll actually bring you a lot closer to your goals, and it'll bring you immense enjoyment in the present. But when you get moderate windfalls, what's going to end up happening is you're going to need to change your mindset. So let's get into managing not large windfalls, moderate windfalls. So you're definitely going to need to use some for leisurely expenses, and for your necessary expenses. If there was anything that you were putting on hold or anything that you were saving up for, it's definitely good to use this towards whatever that is. So if your car needed new brakes and you're going to put new brakes in your car, definitely you want to use this money in order to do it. If there's repairs on your house that you've been holding off on, you're going to use it for that. The next one is for your debt service, debt reduction, or elimination. You're definitely going to use some for that. You definitely want to use it for savings or investments. If you're going to go that route, definitely recommended. And one of the things that I said here is you're going to have to change your mindset. So part of that is you're going to have to get educated on money, because remember, it could take you, like, if you squander it, it could take you a couple months or even a couple years to rebalance for it. And the knowledge and experience that can help you with that. Now, the next one is seek advisor if needed. Now, it's important that I said that you are going to do it if you need one. Now, what's important is you need to know whether you need an advisor or not. Now, if you guys are saying like, well, how am I going to know if I'm going to need an advisor? And that goes back to the prior one of knowledge and experience. You need to develop enough knowledge and experience with money to know what advisor you need and where you need it. The next one is going to be percentages do matter. So what you're going to do here is you're going to do one or two things. You're going to do it compared to the income allocation, or what you're going to do is you're going to do it based on your long-term goals. Now we're going to talk about the apex of windfalls. We're going to talk about large windfalls. Now, large windfalls are life-altering in effect, either positive or negative. Once you get a large windfall, your life will change. I can guarantee you that your life is going to change once you get a large windfall. If you squander it, though, it could take the rest of your life to recover. And in certain cases, some people never recover from squandering a large windfall. Now, if used effectively, this could take you ultimately to whatever your long run goals were, and it can bring you immense happiness in the day, like today. Now, what you're going to need to do is change your mindset. A mindset change is mandatory. You cannot have a large windfall and not change your mindset. If you do not do that, you are going to squander it, and it could potentially take you the rest of your life to rebound. So what you guys are going to see here is a lot of the information that you saw before. The main difference is going to be the caution towards the first four. So remember what I said with leisurely expenses. You're definitely going to do that, but you're going to use caution. The main reason why you're going to use caution is because you haven't really changed your behavioral economics, but you haven't changed your behavior. So coming into a large money and using it for fun, you can actually overdo it. And another thing that we're going to need to talk about is necessary expenses. So housing or your other necessary expenses. And once again, if you're putting anything on hold, you're definitely going to want to use it here. Now, I also have caution at the end. The main reason is because you can't overdo it. Sometimes what will happen is you may end up engaging in things that maybe you shouldn't. Let's say that you sorry guys, I'm trying to power through this without coughing. But what you're going to do is, let's say you want to put a central air system into your house. If you do something like that, then what'll most likely happen is it's going to increase your electric bill. Now, if you make this kind of distinction, you're making this kind of distinction because the amount of money that you have as far as a windfall, and you're not doing it according to your income. So what you need to ask yourself is, would you do this if you didn't have the windfall? Because if you're not going to do it when you didn't have the windfall, then essentially what that means is you probably shouldn't do it then. Or what you should do is you should increase your income to a point where you would then do that. Another one is debt service reduction and elimination. Usually with large windfalls, if you get a large windfall, most of the time what'll normally happen is you'll be able to use that to pay off whatever your debts are. And if that is the case, what's going to end up happening is it goes back to the interdependence in personal finance. So let's say you have your behavioral economics and debt management. So if you pay off all of your credit cards and you have a zero balance, but you don't change your behavior, what's going to happen is at first you're not going to tap into your cards, but essentially what's going to happen is all of your behavior going into whatever it was is going to roar back, and you'll probably end up in worse debt than you did before you had the windfall. Now, the next one is saving and investing. Now, for this one, you have to understand when you come into a lot of money, sometimes you'll actually receive calls from people who probably wouldn't have called you beforehand. Now, if you receive calls from people who wouldn't have talked to you before, it's not all necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes what will happen is they know you have money, so they'll tell you to put it into something else. The main issue is for the next one, it's because you don't have the knowledge or experience to know where to put the money, how to manage it, and later on in the basics money management series, we're going to get into investing and then we're going to cover a lot of the information there. But what we're going to talk about is knowledge and experience. So when it comes to knowledge and experience, you want to start here. I put start here for a reason. Now, I also have advisors are needed here. Now, what you need to do is, I told you, don't go for an advisor until you know enough to know what kind of advisor you need and where you need it. Now, the reason why I say that is because you're going to need to manage your advisors from time to time. And if anyone here is a tax accountant or a lawyer and you're listening to this, you may be kind of angry with that last statement. It's not meant to offend anyone, but it's just made to show people that they need a certain mindset when they're approaching it. And they're going to have to increase their knowledge in order to understand where you fit into it. And if they understand where you fit into it, then it actually makes their job a lot easier, and it makes your job a lot easier. Now, as far as percentages, you're going to have to review that based on your goals. So notice that I only have based on goals and not based on income allocation. The main reason is because you have multiple years of income. So your income allocation are not going to help here. So now for the last part of the composite finance, and just so you guys know, I'm going to be making an entire series on composite finance, mainly because there's a lot of really good information in that. Negotiations are definitely going to be there, and but for right now, we're going to do new financial elements. So now what you guys see here is what is the money manager's process. So essentially what you guys are going to do anytime you have a change in your finances. Let's say that you were first going from riding the bus where you probably just played a flat rate to going to a car where now you got to worry about maintenance, you have to worry about gas, and the finances are going to change for that. Now, for something like that, that's where composite finance comes in, because once you change something, it's going to affect all your numbers. But if you can use composite finance, this will help you do this without doing an entire overhaul of whatever your numbers were from before. So this helps you build off of anything else that I didn't cover in one of the earlier personal finance tutorials. And that's essentially why I have it here. So rather than you saying like, oh, well, this doesn't include this, so I guess I got to find something else, you can actually use this and incorporate it so that you can make a pivot so that it helps you with your finances. So essentially what you're going to do, let's say that you're going from the bus where you paid a flat rate. Let's say you had a monthly Metro card for anyone who has to use the bus in New York City. So let's say you went from that to a car. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to gather all the financial information that you're going to need for both the car and insurance and stuff like that. Then you're going to set almost got through it. Then you're going to set estimates to figure out how much it's going to cost and how much income you can dedicate towards it. And the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to set your goals and aspirations. So ultimately what you want with the car short term, and ultimately what you want for your transportation long term. Now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to evaluate your long run goals with your budget, and then you're going to create the plan. And then this is the composite finance step 4. You're going to make whatever necessary adjustments you need in order to make those goals happen. Step 5, you're going to automate the process. And step 6, stay motivated. And you're going to monitor and verify your progress along with the car, so you can figure out, okay, well, how do I spend less with maintenance? How do I spend less on gas? What do I have What do I have to do to drive more efficiently? What do I have to do to reduce my insurance? And that's the kind of stuff that you're going to do there. So that's all I got for you guys. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you like the part 1, definitely hit the thumbs up on that one too. So once again, guys, this is going to be an entire series in and of itself. So this is going to be the generate a surplus part of the personal finance plan. And what I want you guys to do in the comments is I want you guys to answer 3 questions. One is going to be, what do you think about negotiations? And will you negotiate after this video? And if you guys had a thought of large windfalls, what was it before you watched this video, and what is it after you watched this video? Now, if you guys want more personal finance tutorials, subscribe and you'll receive notifications whenever I release new ones. And I want to thank you once again for powering through this. I know this one was a long one, but thank you. This is Alex, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of 3.5, and this is going to be composite finance.